It is time to talk business, and that's why Garth is here, thanks to our partners Forsyth Barr, who is in the running for the $1 billion deal to build us an LNG terminal, the one that John Key says we might as well have this morning. Garth Ray, host of Herald NOW Business, is here. Garth, good morning.
Good morning, Brian. Seated comfortably and ready to go.
Ready to go. Right, so who's going to build this thing, do we think?
Yeah, officially, the official word on this from Simon Watts is that the government shortlisted some leading proposals and was moving to a commercial contracting stage with the idea of trying to sign something by the middle of this year, obviously before the election, because they see this as a plus and probably because they would need to try and lock in a bit of certainty with a business desk has been doing a bit of a dive into this one. Dilip has been on the case, identified probably 3 bids, 2 of them look quite good. A Norwegian company, I'm going to muck this up, Herald NOW, gave it a good go, didn't I?
Yeah.
Which basically they make a shipping company, and they make what are described as fast-track floating LNG terminals that kind of whip in and do the job.
I've seen a photo of this, because will our one float too?
Well, let's see which one we buy.
Okay.
Because the other one is an outfit called Hibiscus Petroleum based in Malaysia, and they have already been looking around at gas fields and so on here, and their MD Kenneth Gerard Pereira was reported at a summit last year saying New Zealand's an appealing market. Because although we use a lot of renewables, very high use at the moment, I think it's sort of up in the high 90s towards 100 because we've had such a good year for the dams. But LNG import costs are high, and we've recently discovered how important gas is. So there's a Turkish bidder, I think, possibly was in the mix, but apparently they were looking at Marsden Point.
Okay.
So it sounds like all this is the action is more located around Taranaki. This is a big deal. This is, I know you've been talking about it this morning, the worth of it, the point of it, all the rest of it. I think the reality is it's probably might add $16 to $30 to a power bill a year if it gets passed all the way through. So yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. It's interesting what David Seymour was just saying. It's not like it's going to show up on your power bill as a government levy. It's levied on some power companies, and then depending on how it all shakes down, we may or may not actually see it.
Someone
in theory,
always pays, right?
Well,
But so Contact, I think Mike Few just saying, hey, we'd rather it was on gas as well as electricity users, just to spread it around. I think Malcolm Johns from Genesis and the Herald today is talking about how, look, we can sort of see some value for this potentially. Bear in mind they've done a lot to try and make Huntly the firming option with coal. Simon Upton, the sort of former national minister back in the 90s, who's parliamentary commissioner for the environment, saying, look, this is costly, bad idea. From an emissions perspective, it's not clear. Once you add in the cost of liquefying and transporting LNG, is it actually any better than coal?
Oh, really?
So he's saying,
because that's
slow your roll, basically.
Because that's the argument, isn't it?
One of them.
Okay,
yeah.
all
One
right.
of them is the bottom line, though, is people want the lights on more than they want a good price, I think. We've not had a lot of power cuts in this country recently, but go back into the late 90s and they had a wave of them, and that's when we got the last round of big market reforms, because people want the lights on no matter what.
You absolutely cannot get back to the past.
Yeah.
Right, the SFO-run pilot scheme dove deep into processes and found 446 alleged or suspected cases of internal fraud. This is talking about what, government fraud? What are you talking about?
So this is a pilot scheme. I actually attended the launch of it last year, Mark Mitchell with the SFO director, and they basically got 6 government departments or agencies, IRD, ACC, Corrections, MSD, Land Information, and Sport New Zealand, if you will, to say, hey, look, open your books, let us in, let us do a bunch of tests and assessments, and we'll take a look. And they reckon that they're really just trying to work out how well placed these big public sector agencies that spend billions of our dollars, taxpayer dollars, are to spot fraud. They found something like in one case there was 70% of the assessment criteria for fraud and transactions weren't there, 64 weren't there at another. They've sort of anonymised this all so that they're not sort of playing blame games about which department's doing what better. But interesting stuff there. So they've broadened this out. They said, look, if we apply some analysis in the US to how, UK, could be $823 million to $10 billion in potential losses.
Okay, all right. Hey, the global dairy trade auction, we talk about that every fortnight, but they have a pulse auction every other week. What's the result of that?
Yeah, interesting and good. Popped up just overnight. Smaller than the main events, as you mentioned, sort of bit more bidders than in the previous pulse, and we saw lifts, basically. We saw about a 0.4% increase for whole milk powder, which is good. It's up to about $3,600 US a tonne now. And skim milk up 2.4, so still rising. That was up about 10, I think, in the last major event. And butter up 5%, and that's all on the back of ANZ, one of the big banks, saying
dragging their heels, but finally.
The forecast, the 9.5 they're picking as the midpoint or the for the season price,
which is great
when it gets adjusted. So bonanza year down to the farms.
Fantastic. Thank you. Good to see you as always. Cheers for getting us into the out of the ad break, I should say, this hour. Garth Bray, Herald Now business host.